Good evening, folks. Welcome to Activate Worcester, and it's summertime. Although next week it's going to be raining in the summer, but it is what it is. We'll take it. It's not snowing. And we're really, really happy to have a fun show to present to you tonight. We have someone who is climbing into the ring for the second time in his life, except not in the way that you know him initially. And we're really, really happy to have Jose Antonio Rivera with us tonight. Jose?
Thank you for having me.
Delighted to have you.
Thank you.
As some of you may know, and if you don't know it, I can't help you, believe me. Jose is a guy from Worcester, started boxing in his early teens and fought professionally for many, many years and won world titles at 147, 155, and
54,
so forth.
yeah.
54, okay.
Yeah.
So you boxed professionally for 8, 10 years, whatever it was?
Oh, more than that.
More than that.
Yeah, I turned pro in 1992. There was a couple retirement stints in between, but I turned pro in 92. My last fight was in 2019.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You get a pension.
I wish. I wish.
Unbelievable. And the funny thing, guys, if you take a look at him, he looks better than I do. How many fights? 40, 50, whatever?
50 pro fights.
50 pro fights.
Yeah, 50 pro
Marciano, by the way, had, I think, was it 49?
49 and 0.
49
Retired at 49.
And your
and
record was pretty close to that.
0. I wish. Yeah, no. It was not bad. It was I ended up with 50 pro fights and I only lost 6 of those fights.
That's an 88% win percentage. Not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
Yeah. And it's great. And obviously that's a big part of your life.
Yes.
You're still involved with it in any way? Training or?
So my son and my brother and I, we run a promotional company. It's called Rivera Promotions Entertainment, RPE. And so what we do is when we started this company back in 2016, our first show in 2017, we started off just to help the local fighters in the New England area kind of get their platform to start building their careers up.
And since you were involved with it,
it's been good. We've run 13 successful shows, 15 because I fought in 2 of them, but I was more of a partner in those shows because I can't promote my own show. So, but it's been good. We've been getting fighters, helping fighters out. Some of these fighters who's turned pro on our cards were fighting on pay-per-view. I've been fighting pay-per-view, and they're doing great. So we like, and they're signing promotional contracts with promoters who are more established and stuff like that. We're more of I call ourselves a local promotional company. We're not like a Don King, a Bob Arum, none of that stuff. Totally. And these shows, when you run the shows, it's strictly for the love of boxing. You're not getting rich off of these shows. If that's what you're doing it for, just get out of it.
But still, you're providing something to the community.
Right.
Getting a lot of kids involved, and whether they make a career out of it, they'll have fun doing it, get some of the kids off the street, positive role model, and if it turns into something a little bit bigger, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, absolutely not. And we also, we helped the gentleman who's like 50, the record there is now in the world for turning pro at 53 years old. What happened in our card here at the Palladium.
Honest to God.
Yeah, at the Palladium.
Maybe you could work with me. Guy's 90 years old. And he wants to my dad, incidentally, was a professional boxer in the olden days. He was a welterweight, and he had something like 24 or 25 fights, won like 17 of them. But that's the old days. There were a million club fighters in those days, and you had to make a living and all that sort of business.
Sure.
Speaking of making a living, okay, so you've got this business,
promotional company,
which is great, and I think that's exciting because you're giving back. Other than that, you're kind of just hanging around the house, waiting for the phone to ring?
No, I'm an assistant chief. I'm an assistant chief court officer in Dudley District Court, and I've been there. I've been with the Massachusetts Trial Court for 22 years now.
22 years.
22 years. Yes.
God.
I got 10 more years before I can retire
Great.
from that.
And it's a good job. You enjoy it?
It's a great job. I love it. I've been doing it through my whole boxing career. I was working.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I started in 2001, and I started off as an ACO, which is the security at the door. You come into the courthouse, and then from there I be promoted to a court officer, and then 15 years later I got promoted as assistant chief.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it doesn't surprise me because to be in his presence for 5 minutes or less, you get the vibe that he's a very positive, upbeat kind of guy, unassuming, but at the same token, competent, which I think is a terrific thing.
Thank you.
That's your just an honest assessment. Now, that's one ring that you're still involved with, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay. What makes you want to get into another ring where the competition is probably going to be tougher than anybody you fought in the squared ring that you fought 50 times for?
Right.
Why would you, with everything you've got going on in your life,
Right.
a lot of interests and so forth, why would you want to get into the political ring?
I've been living in Worcester for 34 years. I've gone through I used to live right across the street from the city hall. So I've met a lot of city councils and mayors in my time. And it's always something that intrigued me. But most importantly, seeing the impact that local politics has in our everyday lives, I want people to understand that's much more important than the stuff they watch on CNN and Fox News and stuff that goes on nationally. What really affects our lives goes on in what these city councilors and the city manager do in City Hall. And I've been living in District 5, which is what I'm running for 14 years out of the 34 years. And I just figure, there's a lot of, they're not paying attention, they're not listening, this is going on, that is going on. And I just figured instead of being somebody who's going to complain about what's not happening, I just might as well put my money where my mouth is
And do something.
And do something about it,
Now, do you think people are going to look at you as a novice and as somebody who really nice guy but doesn't really know what's going on and how to make things happen politically? I can see you being excellent at glad-handing people, meeting them. Of course, they're going to give you positive feedback.
Sure.
What is it about you that you think that you can translate Jose Rivera into a district spot like this?
Right. So first off, the way it is going to start off is, for me, it's people over politics. So people have to understand. They look at a city councilor or a politician. They kind of look at has to fit a certain criteria. You know what I'm saying? But not everybody who fits their criteria is fit for office. We need people who are just like us in there, who knows the everyday struggles that we got to go through and that we want to accomplish, who are going to listen, who are going to be attentive to our concerns, and it just seems like the certain city councils forget that we're there to serve. We're not there to get on the city council seat and be up on a pulpit and we run stuff. No, we're there to serve our constituents. And that's what I know that I'll be able to do for, once I become a city councilor, is I'm going to listen. I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to answer your phone calls. I'm going to respond to your emails. I'm going to be in the neighborhood meetings. I'm going to be involved, and that's basically what they want. That's what they're asking for, and then most of the people that I'm listening to and that I'm hearing from, their concerns are valid, and they're not feeling heard. And then they know, they have my phone number, they have my email. I'm constantly, just the other day, I'm reporting stuff on Garden Memorial Drive, which is the airport hill going down, when a constituent for the D5 councilor, Attell, had an issue. He told me about it. I looked at it. I saw the issue, and then I right away just reported it. As simple as that. Those are the kind of issues that people like. They're like, okay, this person cares. I've been in the city for 34 years. When I came here at 16 years old, the city of Worcester opened their arms to me.
Where'd you come from originally?
So my family is from Puerto Rico, but I was living at the time. My mom had passed away when I was 10 years old.
Oof.
So I was kind of bouncing around for a little
Sorry.
while.
Yeah,
No
sure.
problem. I was bouncing around for a little while, and then I ended up with an aunt in Springfield. I lived with her for a few years, and then at 16, I moved to Worcester. and to live on my own.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And then
And obviously you've been able to do it and do it well.
yeah, and not only that, I was able to graduate from South High, which is in my district, and I was.
So you are truly a homie. You're a homeboy.
I'm a homeboy.
You're a District 5 homeboy, and you're immersed. You're involved with it.
Yeah.
You smell the fumes. You know what's going on. You can't get smoked. You can't get people giving you song and dance, which you know isn't the real deal.
Right.
And I'm in District 1, and I can tell you that everything that you described, Tony Economo, who you know,
Yes.
Tony operated exactly the way you described. And
That's what people
he
want.
was a guy that, politics wasn't where it was at.
Right.
Supporting people was where it was at, and he would listen. And I had a couple of little things, as everybody does, and 3 separate occasions that I contacted him, he was in my driveway, literally within 3 hours, talking about situations, and he was able to correct these things. I mean, he really went to bat for us. And I'm not holding him up as a paragon of greatness.
No, I get
But
it.
in terms of the way he supported, not just me, I'm not special. I'm one of everybody else that lives in one.
Correct.
That's exactly what you need. And the thing I keep hearing, because we have people on from different areas, and there tends to be a sense in the city council now that it's politics over performing for the people.
Right.
They all have, a thing that they're trying to accomplish.
Right.
Well, that's nice if you're writing books or whatever you're doing,
Right.
but you're being paid. This ain't a freebie, man. You're getting paid,
Exactly.
and you're getting paid to perform. And as I say, I hear this to some degree where I am in 1, certainly in 5, and several of the others which aren't relevant to discuss at this point. So I think that your approach is needed and very definitely, and in fact, to go one step further if I can, initially, when I knew you were running for at-large.
Correct.
Okay. And at-large is basically a thankless position, because all you get is hell from everywhere around the city, Whereas when you're focusing in one particular district like you are, especially where you live, that's a perfect scenario.
Yes.
And I think you're going to have a much better chance at being successful. The malaise that we have in Worcester, I'm a warden in 2-2, which is, on Whitmarsh Ave, and we generally do a lot better job in my area of getting people out to vote as opposed to the city. A citywide election, which really sickens me, you'll get 15 to 20% maybe of the registered voters, not of the total population, which means that you can have a fringe candidate who's got some real hardcore followers that can literally steal an election. And I think this is what's happened throughout the city. There are a lot of people in the jobs, and I don't care to comment on it at this point, who really have no business to be in the jobs that they're in. And based on the kind of performance that I'm seeing, not so good. And as more of these people come on, and they have a very specific ideology that they're pushing, all that's going to do is hurt this city.
Correct.
Because I still see lots of things that are not good. There was something that came out earlier today, you may have seen the same thing, that the average, and I think it's understated, 2-bedroom apartment in this city is like $1,600 and some odd dollars. And they're saying to be able to pay for an apartment, not that that's palatial, because it's not, you have to be making $31, minimum $31 an hour. And if you do the math, that's a lot of dough, and there's not a lot of jobs that can support that kind of activity. Yet, one thing we know about Worcester, what we're doing is not importing jobs, what we're doing is importing apartments. And everywhere you look, there's 600 going here, 400 going there. I work for Better Electric, which I think you guys know, over on Grafton Street, and that's going to be closing in about 6 weeks. Big parcel of land, 2 acres, real close to 290. You can bet your booties that whoever buys it's going to buy the whole thing, and we're going vertical. And what are we doing? Importing, I don't know, 400, 500, 600 more apartments, more people to live here, probably coming from the east because it's cheap, and displacing people who live in the city. And I see this as a real, real problem. I think our commercial tax rate is much too high. Why would you locate here when you can go across into Shrewsbury for 14% and you're 30-something here in Worcester? Are you nuts? You know, I mean, and there's things like that that I would love to see the city council get on, get real. Get this area moving forward, for God's sakes. And I see somebody like you coming in and doing what you have to do in District 5, but beyond that point, also providing leadership within that council to move some things forward, rather than sitting there like some of them do. They're chewing gum and they're eating whatever the hell they're eating, which is just an abomination, but they get away with it because nobody says anything. They're not being paid to chew gum or to eat candy when they're on the clock, especially when the TV cameras are on them. And there's a whole culture there that I really don't like. A loaded question for you. What can you bring citywide to the city?
So my goal, believe it or not, is kind of to be a bridge. You know, I want to bring people together. I want to bring departments together. You know, I want to bring, you know, there's too much us versus them going on, and this politics going on right now, and I just don't. It's not really my vibe. You know what I'm saying? I think we would do much better if we work together. And we're not always going to agree, and I understand that, but that doesn't mean that we can't have good discussions and come up with good solutions. You know what I'm saying? To say we got to learn to compromise. You know, everything that I'm seeing now is always like a us versus them thing, and doesn't help the city, doesn't help the constituents, doesn't help the residents. It just doesn't help at all. You know, it kind of causes more of a divide. And that to me, this is one of the most important election years in the city of Worcester.
Amen.
In the direction that it's going. You know, and if things go the way that I hope it doesn't go, I mean, honestly, it's not going to be good for the city of Worcester, you know.
To your point, and I think it's an excellent one. I read this a long time ago. It's pretty simple. What is communication? Real simple. It's a two-way flow of information, okay? And what we end up seeing now, it's I shout at you, and then you shout at me, but we're not hearing each other. And we're all human. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's the devil.
Nope.
We're all somewhere in between. And if you can have respect for the other person and understand where they're coming from, maybe that's how you can forge something that's going to benefit everybody.
Correct.
But lower the temperature, open your ears, shut your mouth, see what's really going on. And I love what you said when we started the conversation. You're not in here for politics. No. You're in here for people. And if you can maintain that and not get drawn in to the political side of this thing, you know, how with 5 to 4, boy, how do we get that extra vote? And you end up voting for something that you know is wrong.
Right.
But you got your thing that's, you know, you need their help with.
Right.
And that's why I say the boxing ring is pretty pure. It's clean. It's two people head to head, mano a mano. We see what happens. With this, it's a lot more subtle.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, yes. They sure are. They sure are. Where are you at right now with the campaign at this point?
So
we're almost into July.
Right now, we are just knocking on the doors, trying to, through my campaign team, treasurer and stuff like that, they're trying to raise money. I can't ask for money, and I can't receive any money, so everything has to be done through the treasurer and team. And so that becomes very difficult because, you know, you have to buy signs and you have to save money for mailers if you can afford them. If not, I'm just going to keep knocking on doors and meeting people and listening to them and just kind of take this all the way to September. We have a primary.
September 5th, I think?
5th,
Yeah.
September 5th, and then from there, November 7th.
2 for 2.
Yes.
You're going to nail it.
Yeah.
Now, the thing of it is getting real. Money is the mother's milk of politics, and without money, I don't care how great your program is and you as an individual, you got to get the message across, and the way to do it, you have to do it with money. Your competitor, who you're going against, A, is an incumbent,
Yes.
and secondly, is well-heeled, as I understand it, and her money has come, in many cases, from way outside the district, way outside the state. So she's got some very special forces that are using her to beat the drum for their agenda. Nothing to do with Worcester. Nothing to do with Worcester.
Correct.
That's what you're up against. The thing she doesn't get and doesn't understand, and I think will underestimate, is the power of the vibe that you have and how well known you are. You're not your Joe Smith, some guy who just decides to get in because it might be fun. It ain't gonna be fun. It's
Enough.
You don't bring a knife to a gunfight, as the old adage goes. And to help make that happen, certainly pressing the flesh, getting out there as much as you possibly can, will be important. Are there any debates that are scheduled?
Yes, we just received a letter, I think sometime in September, if I'm not, September, October, I know it will be after the primaries, the debates start.
Yep.
So, but that's the first one I received. For that one, I think that's going to be in Mechanics Hall. And then we're receiving now like some invitations from other independent sources of debates to agree upon and stuff like that.
Good, good. My suggestion is get as much exposure as you can, because where you're coming from is where people are coming from and what they want to have in a representative. Not a political dogma, which is what you have out there right now.
Yeah.
So we're counting on you. Big
Appreciate
time.
it. Appreciate
But it's
it.
nice to count on them. But guys, if you like what you've heard and seen, and this is maybe your first experience at seeing him, which would be too bad, he's got a lot to say in a very understated, positive, productive way. How can people actually help you and help the campaign specifically? What can they do?
Well, I mean, anybody who wants to help with holding signs, putting yard signs in their property, and preferably D5, that they can reach out to me at VoJoseRivera.com. That's our website. We also have on social media, on Twitter, it's VoJose Rivera. On Instagram, it's VoJose Rivera.
It's pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah,
If you can't remember that.
Yeah, and there's ways my campaign manager will respond with any volunteers, things that they want to sign up for and do. We just started our standouts. The first standout that we had, I wanted to do by myself. Because I'm the candidate, and I'm putting myself out there. I want to be the one who started off and just kind of be out there and letting people know that I'm going to be here for them.
Sure. Sure. One of the people who was in, as he used to call it, beautiful District 5.
Beautiful District 5.
Gary Rosen.
Gary Rosen, yes.
The man with the combs.
Yes.
And the man with the sign. And people used to chuckle at this guy. They were like, oh, this stupid old guy, what the hell does he know? What he knew is there was a lot of visibility. He had certain places he'd always show up with his signs, and it hammered that through people's consciousness. But the other part of it is, in addition to getting elected, he would get reelected because he worked his butt off. And I know that because I worked very closely with him at the senior center for a number of years. We ran Friends, and we did a lot of things together. He was constantly doing stuff for his people, constantly doing stuff.
Yeah.
So he didn't just talk the talk; he walked the walk.
Oh, absolutely, and that's one of the things that I know that I like about when you're running for a district is you actually can be much more busier than if you was running at large. Because
how do you get your arms around the whole, especially as a new person?
Right.
One piece at a time.
Yeah, one piece at a
which
time.
is what you're doing.
Correct.
Now, okay, so time, talent, and treasure are the three things you need. Okay.
No, I have treasurer.
You got treasurer.
Yeah,
You got a
he's
treasurer.
Treasurer. So
But you know,
their
when
job.
I'm talking about getting treasurer.
Oh,
for
yeah,
the treasurer
yeah.
to
Yeah,
spend
just
properly
they
for
just
you.
got to go through them. I
Through
can't,
them.
can't come through me.
You can't do it.
I can't do it.
And once again, if they want to send a few bucks, maybe more than a few bucks, who do they send it to? Is it, please, just repeat that again.
No, I just think just the website. The website.
The website will do it all.
Yeah.
So go to his website. A lot of ways nowadays that you can contribute. Obviously, he's new at this. He's going against an incumbent who's probably in a place politically that you might not agree with. And there's no better way to vote before you vote by sending some money. But the other part of it too, just like he said, you can be involved in a meet and greet, have him in your area with a few friends, maybe more than a few. He's more than happy to do that. Holding signs, distributing leaflets and so on and so forth. It's all part of the package. And bottom line is, if you hustle, you can make things happen.
Absolutely.
And you've been a hustler since you were a little kid.
I've
You're
been
still
working.
hustling,
I've
man.
been working my whole life. So one of the things that I'm enjoying about this campaign, believe it or not, is the door knocking. You know, I'm really enjoying
Sure.
just having the conversations and listening to their stories and stuff like that.
Bottom line is, you're one of them.
There you go. And they see that. You know, once they kind of speak with me and kind of, they kind of have this perception at first and stuff like that. But once we start talking, they say, okay,
They don't really hate you.
he's just like me. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I've seen you at the Crime Watch meetings and some other things as well. And you wear very well with people. People respond to you.
Thank you.
It's what it is.
Well, I mean, that's the one thing that I want the people to understand is our job is to serve them. We work for them. So they cannot feel that they're a burden or they're, no, call, email, reach out. The city councilors serve you. So make sure they know that, make sure they understand that. We're not there to, create magic.
Guys, I can't see any more that I can add to what he has just said. And if you live in District 5 and you heard what he just had to say, do yourself a favor. Not for me, not for him, for yourself. Get in touch with his website, get involved. He's going to do some good things for you. It's as simple as that. You're lucky to have somebody like that working for you. And we're lucky to have had you on.
Thank you very
And
much.
I look forward to having you on after the primary and getting ready for the main event.
Yes, sir.